going on in the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
that I really had no feeling of connection with at all. Though when I was a small child growing up, I was very, very pious and well behaved. Well, not just while I was growing up, it was through my adolescence.
Did both your mother and father take you to church every Sunday, or was it just your
yes,
mother?
of course.
So your father was just as Catholic?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, they were really very serious. And we used to, I mean, there were times when we would go drive to New York City for church because there was a minister, not a minister, a priest at St. Patrick's Cathedral who was a very high intellectual, and we would go all the way down to New York. And in those days, there wasn't the Merritt Parkway or any highways or anything. It was on the old Boston Post Road with cobblestones and things like that. And it would take, I don't know, at least a couple of hours to drive down and then to go to the big... They were married in St. Patrick's Cathedral. And so I think they had a warm feeling for it. But it was because of this very brilliant priest they would go.
And was your brother John, did he go to all the, did he rebel
He
against
did
that?
until he came back from the war, and maybe during the war he stopped. But I remember very well the morning when he came home after the Air Corps, and it was Sunday morning, we were all getting dressed to go to church, and he said, "I'm not going." And they said, "What do you mean you're not going?" He said, "I'm not going." And it was to Mother and Daddy, really major, major, major shock. They didn't disown him or kick him out of the house or anything like that, but they were very, very upset about it. And then they sort of learned to live with it, because essentially my son John could do no wrong. I mean, he had done a lot wrong, not evil wrong, but you know, that wasn't the way things were planned. When he was married to Aunt Penny, he wouldn't be married in the Catholic Church. They were married in a church when he came in, but not the Catholic Church. And there were relatives. My mother's two brothers and their wives refused to come to the wedding because they were going to be living in, Uncle John and Penny would be living in sin. And they hurt Mother, because no marriage that didn't take place in the Catholic Church was a holy marriage. And it hurt my mother really, really badly. Well, both my parents, I think. And so when Dad and I, 3 months later, after, what was it, September, August, July. Yeah, it was about 3 months after I met him, we got married. And I absolutely refused to, in my heart, to hurt my parents as badly as they had been hurt, actually by their, by Mother's relatives. So we were married in the Catholic Church. But that was...
Which church was that?
The Church of the Seven Wallpapers in Greenwich. That's what we always called it. And Dad, bless his heart, went right along with it.
Yeah.
But then, we moved right to Cambridge. And in Cambridge there was a notorious, terrible, terrible Catholic priest. It was called Father Feeney. I mean, he was famous all over the United States for his, huge anti-Semitism, anti-everything. I mean, really a terrible, terrible man. And so that was absolutely the end of it for me. But my family has never made peace with that. No, they're, it's a very important part of their lives, and thank God for Banana's faith, because otherwise, how do you spend that many years in bed if you don't have something it has helped her get through these terrible times. I mean, I think I have often been subjected to the television set for the Catholic channel when I've been down there, and I've been pretty appalled by what I have heard these priests say. It's not to say all Catholic priests are bad or anything like that, but there's a lot of really small-minded, exclusionary things that I find against everything that I feel deeply in my body and my mind, and I find it totally offensive. But that's the way it goes. Different strokes for different folks. Yeah. No, when I was brought up, I mean, it was, we had a catechism that we had to learn that said, you know, who made you? God made you. Who is the maker of heaven and earth? God is the maker of heaven and earth. On and on, blah, blah, blah. You know, this whole
And
thing.
Dad didn't have any, I mean, he was Protestant, but he wasn't, his family weren't churchgoers at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And we, after we were married...
Is that because Granny Wren was not at all religious either?
No, I don't think she brought up the kids in any church at all. Well, she'd been married to Granddad.
Right, yeah.
And with a lot of his ideas about things. And so, no, so he didn't have... And then after Dad and I were married, I mean, the first year we lived in Cambridge, but then we went to Italy and were there for, you know, quite a while. But
how many years were you in there?
well, we were in Italy for a year, about a year and a half, when he had a Fulbright fellowship, but he got TB, and so he had to give up the fellowship after. It was about a half a year. He didn't finish the whole year there. So we were there probably a year and a half or so, and then he was in the TB sanatorium for 2 years.
That was in Connecticut.
In Wallingford, Connecticut. And then when he got out, actually the two of us we were staying with Banana and Uncle Charlie for a while in New Canaan. They were very kind and very dear and let us stay there till we sort of, while we were figuring out where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And we used to go to a Quaker meeting, a lovely Quaker meeting in some town nearby. And then we settled up here, and there weren't any Quaker meetings up here. There is now, but in those days there wasn't. And so we started going to the church here, where this wonderful old guy, Tom Billings, who'd been a professor at a university in Canada, was the minister. And when he started off, there would be about 10 or 12 people in the congregation. But he was such an extraordinary man that eventually people were coming from Peterborough and Temple and all towns around just to hear him on Sundays. Wonderful, wonderful man. And then some of the old-timers in town decided that the kind of doctrines that he was teaching, they didn't quite approve of. I mean, things like brotherly love. Well, it's okay to love your brothers in Hancock, but those bastards up in Antrim are never going to love. And eventually, you know, he was not in the church anymore, so we left that. And then we met Al Kershaw, and we're taking his philosophy courses in the community college, and started going to All Saints Church, which we did.
The
Stone Church in Peterborough, the Episcopal Church in Peterborough, and in a way,
but Dad was brought up Protestant, but he basically
Protestant meaning
anything
it meant nothing. He had no religion, no